God's final decree, mentioned in Revelation 22 verse 19, is maybe the most ignored decree in the Bible. If any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the holy city. Today, most Christians believe in the future second coming of Jesus and in a future 1,000-year reign. However, a couple of centuries ago, the Christians still believed in the 1,000-year reign in their past. It was around the 16th century that dispensationalism was introduced. The belief in a future second coming of Jesus and a future 1,000-year reign. The change of belief from a past 1,000-year reign to a future 1,000-year reign generated God's final decree of Revelation 22 verse 19 to turn into reality. The holy city was taken away. Today, most Christians believe in a future second coming of Christ and in a future establishment of the 1,000-year reign. However, the Bible is very clear about the time period in which the second coming of Christ with his millennial kingdom would occur. Jesus prophesied to his disciples that he would be back before the disciples would have gone over the cities of Israel. Matthew and Mark mentioned that Jesus prophesied that the Son of Man would come in the glory of his Father with the angels before his audience would die. In Matthew 24, Mark 13 and Luke 21, Jesus prophesied not only that his disciples would see all things come to pass before they would die, Jesus specifically prophesied that the generation living 2,000 years ago would see all these things be done. Jesus also mentioned the abomination of desolation. They were going to witness that 2,000 years ago. During Jesus' trial, he prophesied to the Pharisees that they would see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Revelation spoke about the immediate return of Jesus. The word teki, translated as quickly, was only used in the New Testament era for immediate actions. Before Revelation was penned down, the gospel was already preached all over the world. This was confirmed 4 times in the New Testament. According to the biblical record, there is only one possibility. Jesus' second coming and the Holy Reign started about 2,000 years ago. Revelation 20 verse 7 and 8 prophesied the loosing of the devil after the 1,000 years were expired, deceiving all nations and gathering the nations together to battle. This would have happened about 1,000 years ago, assuming that we are currently living in the year 2024. About 400 years ago, the Christians knew for a fact that the 1,000-year reign had already been fulfilled. The Geneva Bible of 1599 AD with notes specified the timeline of events that were prophesied in Revelation. Around 80 AD, the dragon was bound for 1,000 years. Around 1073 AD, the dragon was loosed out of prison. The notes attached to Revelation 20 verse 7 and 8 declared that Satan, after he was loosed out of bounds, used world leaders to persecute the saints and start wars worldwide. There exist many historic records confirming prophecies spoken by Jesus in Matthew 25, Mark 13 and Luke 21. The Jewish historian Flavius Josephus testified in his epistles War of the Jews about chariots and troops of soldiers running about among the clouds and surrounding of cities. The Roman historian Tacitus testified the same in the Histories, Book 5, paragraph 13. The Greek Christian historian Pseudo-Hegesippus wrote a burning comet coming like a fire and a sword being in the air for a year, announcing with iron and fire the coming destruction of the people, the kingdom and the city itself. His writings testified of a certain figure of tremendous size appearing in the sky, which many saw, just as the books of the Jews had disclosed, and in the clouds chariots and armed battle arrays, by which the cities of all Judea and its territories were invaded. Caesarea wrote in his history book about a star standing over the city like a sword and a comet for a whole year. He also reported about chariots and armed troops coursing through the clouds and surrounding the cities. Josephus wrote about a single great star shining like swords located over the temple and seen above the Holy of Holies, and for the whole night the outline of a man's face, the like of whose beauty had never been seen in all the country. He wrote about people seeing chariots of fire and horsemen, a great force flying across the sky near to the ground, coming against Jerusalem and all the land of Judah, all of them horses of fire and riders of fire. Wars, famines, false Christs, pestilences and earthquakes were documented by Josephus in his book War of the Jews and Antiquity of the Jews, and by Tacitus in Histories 1. The abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel was recorded by Josephus in War of the Jews. The earth is covered with archaeological evidence of the occurrence of a great tribulation and the elements melting with fervent heat, works being burned up on the earth, buildings buried with tons of dirt, cities burned and melted structures are seen everywhere around the world. The rebirth of Israel in 1948 is the most fundamental proof of Jesus' second coming in our future.
Well, I'm going to start a prophetic timeline back at 1948, and we're going to bring it up current, and we're going to look at prophecies that have been fulfilled. Number one, this is prophetic fulfillment number one, 1948, Israel reborn for the second time. Isaiah 11. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Assyria and Egypt, from Pathros and Cush, from Elam and Shinar, from Hamath and the islands of the sea. He will set up a banner for the nations, and he will assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Well, so Israel is the only nation in the history of the world that has been dispossessed twice and has come back. The first time they were dispossessed is around 500 BC, the Babylonians came, defeated Israel, and took them out of the land and took them to Babylon. And after 70 years, they returned to the nation of Israel. So they were reborn for the first time. The second time they were reborn is in AD 70. The Romans killed over 1 million Jews, took the rest of them and took them captive back to Rome. They ultimately were scattered around the world. And then in 1948, for the second time, the only nation that has come back two times, in 1948, in one day, Israel became a nation.
According to dispensationalism, that is the belief in a future second coming of Jesus and in a future millennial reign, between 70 AD and 1948 AD, there has not been any other recovery of the remnant of God's people. But how do they know that between 70 AD and 1948 AD there's not been any other returns of the Jews to Israel? Because according to them, there is nothing mentioned in history about a second return to Israel, Jesus' return, or the 1,000-year reign in our past. But how do they know that history is right? Yet the belief in a future second coming of Jesus and a future millennial reign is based on this history. The remnant of God's people, mentioned in Isaiah 11 verse 11 and 12, were assembled for the second time around 200 AD. The history of Israel records the majority of Israel being Jews by 300 AD. By the 4th century, Israel was a Christian nation. In the 1st and 2nd century, not all Jews were killed, expelled or sold into slavery. In the 3rd century AD, the majority of the population of Israel was Jew again. By the 4th century, Israel was a Christian nation. So the outcasts of Israel were assembled by the 3rd century AD. Israel became a Christian nation by the 4th century AD, and this would have correlated with the establishment of the 1,000-year reign within the 1st centuries AD. There have been some significant historic events that took place some 400 to 800 years ago that generated the current belief in a future millennial reign and in a future second coming of Jesus. Around 1300 AD, the Satanists took full control over the Church, which today is known as the Vatican. The apostolic libraries were seized by the Satanists who called themselves humanists. The humanists started censoring and deleting documents that were fake according to their atheistic worldview. The Vatican Library used to be an apostolic library and is one of the oldest libraries in the world, containing the most significant collection of historical texts of the followers of Christ. Historic records confirmed that the once apostolic libraries were turned into humanistic libraries, libraries clear of all theistic and supernatural records. Any records about Jesus' return, the holy reign by the saints, and the conquest of the Holy Empire by the Satanists would have been conveniently erased as being fakes. The YouTuber Itchyboot visited the Catholic monastery Sant'Ormizzo in Kurdistan. This monastery got looted around the 15th century. Many apostolic records were destroyed. This is one of the many examples of what happened around the 15th centuries. Humanists looted all apostolic libraries, destroying its content.
So I am now at the Sant'Ormizzo monastery. So this monastery was built in the year 640, so about 1400 years ago, and it's a Catholic monastery. In the mid-1700s the monastery got attacked, and then again around 1830 it got attacked again, and then also the library got looted and damaged, so a lot of the old manuscripts were destroyed back then.
The new Babylonian Empire rose around 1500 AD. The French, Spanish, Dutch, English and Portuguese governments conquered the world, destroying everything. Peoples were killed or enslaved. Today this new Babylonian Empire is called Europe. The whole world is under control of their regime.
How many of you know where Strasbourg is? The European Parliament. There, everything is signed for us, Europeans. Now, I have a picture of that European Parliament. It's after a painting of Bruegel, who was a Dutch painter. There was the Tower of Babel. Babel represents rebellion against God. There's the building. It's almost a copy of the Tower of Babel. That is where all the decisions are made. The top leaders and everything.
Topleiders.
Masonry, Rothschilds. Well, I don't have to go deep into that, but those names are very... So the inside is a copy after the Colosseum in Rome. Remember what I said? This empire is rising again. The Colosseum in Rome was erected and finished in the year 71. It was because of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. By its ceremony were 10,000 people, and all the 10,000 people died a violent death there in the Colosseum. A lot of Christians were killed and martyred, eaten alive by lions. A lot of these things happened there. You see how anti-God they are. And this thing is brought back into life in Europe. Let me see the statue now. There we have the bull. See on the top of the bull there's a woman. The woman and the beast. We know that from Revelation. The bull is Zeus, Nimrod. You know, he was a god of the Greece mythology. And the woman was a daughter of a king's couple. Her name was Europe. Zeus saw this beautiful young girl. He desired her. So he came in the form of a white bull. And she sat on the back of that bull. Afraid of it. And as soon as she touched the back of the bull, he fled away and he raped her. That's the story of Europe. All the powers in the spirit of Jeroboam, where they worshipped false idols, where they brought sacrifices to false idols. And that's exactly happening today.
The Geneva Bible with notes was banned around 1600 AD. The notes showed the 1,000-year reign and the losing of the devil in their past. The notes of the Geneva Bible were soon forgotten by the Christians. Soon after that, a trend called dispensationalism started, in which the belief of Jesus' second coming in the future was promoted. Till the 16th century, the world maps were drawn as flat earth maps, with the north in the middle. Right around the North Pole there was a continent, existing of 4 quarters. The continent was mentioned in the Bible. The city of the great king, Mount Zion, was located on the sides of the north. The word Ireka, translated as sides, can also mean quarters. So the city of the great king, Mount Zion, was located on the quarters of the north. The continent around the North Pole happened to exist of 4 quarters. This continent has now been erased from all world maps. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. The darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And here you can see the surface of the waters, the midst of the waters, that's the position of the firmament, and the bottom of the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. Here you can see the waters above the firmament, and below you can see the waters under the firmament. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth. And God made two lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to bring light upon the earth. The earth is situated in a firmament, a dome, and thus situated underwater. No living person can enter the dome, and no living person can leave the dome. Here you can see the dwelling place of God and the angels, which is above the surface of the waters. And the dwelling place of the earth is in a firmament, in the midst of the waters, with waters above the firmament and waters under the firmament. However, the flat earth under a dome with waters above the firmament was inconvenient for the humanists. So they invented the globe, spinning through an endless, airless universe with multiverses trillions of light years away. They needed advanced alien civilizations that returned home millions of years ago, so that they could explain away the remnants of the once powerful and advanced civilization they recently had destroyed. They also needed the total nonsense story of a meteorite destroying the Earth to explain away the once tropical temperatures worldwide. Another thorn in the flesh of the Satanists was this continent of 4 quarters around the North Pole, also depicted on the flat Earth maps. First of all, Psalms 48 and Isaiah 14 specify the locations of the city of God. Secondly, Revelation 20 verse 9 confirmed that the nations would be compassing about the camp of the saints and the holy city. Soon after the world maps were drawn spherically, the North Pole continent was erased. The Satanists had another problem with the flat Earth maps. The whole world, including the North Pole and the South Pole, was covered in tropical temperatures, hence the depictions of the forests and the wildlife on the poles. According to Isaiah 30 verse 26, during the 1,000-year reign there would have been tropical temperatures worldwide. The sun would have been 7-fold, causing worldwide warmth, which correlated with the flat Earth maps. This information was definitely not convenient for the Satanists, knowing that they were the ones destroying God's reign. Keeping the Christians in the lie of a future coming of Christ and in a future establishment of the 1,000-year reign would guarantee the satanic worldwide reign. After all, the people of the saints, thus the population of the earth, had been given the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the everlasting kingdom. As long as these people keep denying the truth of Revelation, which is saying that Jesus would come immediately 2,000 years ago, the Satanists would probably stay in power. Soon after 1600, the 4 quarters of the continent around the North Pole were erased, as if they never existed. The spherical Earth, spinning in an endless, airless universe, was invented by the humanists, conveniently deluding the masses and the Christians away from the truth. The chronicles and encyclopedia were published by the humanists, conveniently keeping silent about any theistic events in the past. Today, the official history, or should I say his story, is without the 1,000-year reign and without the losing of the devil after the 1,000 years were fulfilled. Thorough investigation by thousands of experts exposed a totally fabricated history. Even the relics and paintings turned out to be fabricated and dated to false eras. In History of the New Chronology, Fromenko quotes over 1,000 sources of historic investigators worldwide, exposing a global organized operation of a grand falsification of the entire history of mankind. The whole history, older than 250 years, is a total fabrication. The so-called consensual history is a finely woven magic fabric of intricate lies about events predating the 16th century. There is not one single piece of firm written evidence or artifact that could reliably and independently be traced back earlier than the 11th century. All methods of dating of ancient sources and artifacts are both non-exact and contradictory. This caused the decree mentioned in Revelation 22 verse 19 to come to pass from that time on. God took away the holy city. We have changed. Surely I come quickly, written 2,000 years ago, into I will come 2,000 years later. Based on information now available, the following chain of events have been pieced together. Just before the establishment of the millennial kingdom, the elements melted in fervent heat. The traces of this great tribulation was visible worldwide. Around 1,000 years ago, the millennial kingdom was established on earth. About 200 years ago, the devil was loosed and the people perished in the great tribulation came back to life. Were the people mentioned in Revelation 20 verse 5 the ones who were found in the fields about 150 years ago? The cabbage field babies? The saints left for the city of God, Hyperborea, at the sides of the north, leaving many cities and grand castles empty. The Satanists seized apostolic libraries, changed history, seized all advanced technology. The Satanists made laws to be able to dispose of any person who opposed to their laws. For that purpose, millions of lunatic asylums were built worldwide. Many of the people persecuted did not survive the horrors of the persecutions. Their children were seized, re-educated and put to work in factories. The world wars were created to bomb all great cities to get rid of the magnificent ancient buildings, just as they did with the great fires where all major cities worldwide burned to the ground 2 centuries ago. Are these locations where God's holy city is located? Is this where the saints went to? I believe that the earth we live on is not the whole earth. All these continents have been erased from the world maps, and exactly the continents mentioned in the Bible on the sides of the north, on the quarters of the north, that continent has been erased as well. If any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the holy city.